Once, when the Buddha was residing at Jetavana Monastery, the venerable Devadatta's close disciple, Kokālika, stirred up conflict among the monks. In response, the Buddha shared the Tittira Jātaka to illustrate the consequences of ill speech. The events leading to the story. During a certain rainy season retreat, the Buddha's two foremost disciples, Sāriputta and Moggallāna, sought to avoid public disturbance by staying in seclusion. They approached the monk Kokālika and proposed, "Let us live together peacefully for these 3 months. If you help us by not revealing our presence to others, we can, in turn, teach you the discourses suttas and the deeper teachings Abhidhamma of the Buddha." Kokālika agreed and discreetly provided shelter for them. For the entire rainy season, their presence remained unknown. However, after the retreat, the two chief disciples invited Kokālika to accompany them to visit the Buddha. On the journey, they passed through a village. After they had departed, Kokālika returned to the village and rebuked the residents, saying, "You ignorant people! The great disciples, Sāriputta and Moggallāna, stayed with me for 3 months, and none of you knew or gave offerings." Alarmed and ashamed, the villagers hastily gathered gifts and ran after the disciples. When they caught up with them, they pleaded, "Forgive us, venerable ones. We failed to recognize you. Please accept these offerings." Yet, Sāriputta and Moggallāna graciously declined and instructed the villagers not to offer anything to Kokālika either. Though the villagers invited the disciples to return in the future, Kokālika grew resentful. Kokālika's growing bitterness. Soon after, Sāriputta and Moggallāna, along with their 500 disciples, returned to the village. The villagers received them warmly, offering the 4 requisites of monastic life: food, clothing, shelter, and medicine. The disciples shared these gifts among themselves, but gave nothing to Kokālika. Enraged, Kokālika accused Sāriputta and Moggallāna of harboring selfish motives, saying, "Before, they refused the villagers' offerings, but now, with their followers, they greedily accept everything." Recognizing Kokālika's growing anger and the demerit he was accumulating, the two chief disciples decided to leave. Despite the villagers' pleas for them to stay, they remained resolute. As they prepared to depart, a young monk pointed out to the villagers, how could the chief disciples stay without Kokālika's consent? Realizing Kokālika's role in their departure, the villagers turned on him, demanding, "Either you invite them back and apologize, or you must leave this village." Fearful, Kokālika hurried after Sāriputta and Moggallāna, but they refused to return. They instructed him, "You remain here, but we will not come back." Kokālika's downfall. Unable to remain in the village without the villagers' support, Kokālika became despondent. He took his robes and books and journeyed to Jetavana to see the Buddha. Upon arrival, he slandered the two chief disciples, accusing them of dishonorable motives. The Buddha admonished him, "Kokālika, do not speak such things. Sāriputta and Moggallāna are virtuous and possess many noble qualities." Yet Kokālika persisted, claiming, "No, their actions are unwholesome. I know their motives, and they are far from virtuous." Ignoring the Buddha's warnings, Kokālika left, defiant. Not long after, Kokālika's body became covered in painful, festering boils. Unable to bear the agony, he collapsed near the gate of Jetavana. His suffering became known far and wide, even reaching the higher realms. A Brahma deity named Tudu, seeing Kokālika's misery, descended from the heavens to offer advice. From the sky, he called out, "Kokālika, you have committed a grievous wrong. Go and beg forgiveness while there is still time." Kokālika, filled with pride and anger, responded, "Who are you? How can a being from the Brahma Loka lower yourself to come here? You must be no more than a wandering ghost, scavenging like a beggar." Seeing Kokālika's arrogance, Tudu returned to the heavens, saying, "If you speak so, then you must face the consequences alone." Soon after, Kokālika succumbed to his illness and was reborn in a woeful realm known as the Hell of Paduma. The Brahma deity Sahampati informed the Buddha of his fate. Upon hearing this, the Buddha remarked, Kokālika's downfall in this life is not new. Even in a past life, he faced ruin because of his reckless speech. The past life of Kokālika. The Buddha then related the past life story. Long ago, during the reign of King Brahmadatta in Benares, the enlightenment being was born into a distinguished Brahmin family. In time, he renounced the world and became the leader of a group of ascetics in the Himalayan forests. One day, a malnourished ascetic went into the forest to gather firewood to warm the hermitage. Another ascetic, passing by, began instructing him, "Cut this tree at that one. Do it this way." The first ascetic, already struggling, grew furious and retorted, "Are you my teacher? Why do you instruct me as if I know nothing?" In a fit of rage, he struck the other ascetic with his axe, killing him. The enlightenment being conducted, the funeral rites for the slain ascetic. Meanwhile, in a nearby tree, a partridge had been singing loudly for days. A hunter, drawn by its cries, captured and killed the bird. When the enlightenment being noticed the silence and asked what had happened, the other ascetics told him of the partridge's fate. Reflecting on the needless deaths of both the ascetic and the partridge, the enlightenment being remarked, "Both perished because they spoke when they should have remained silent." He advised his fellow ascetics to focus on their meditation, and he himself deepened his practice, attaining the sublime meditative states, jhanas. He maintained his spiritual achievements and was reborn among the Brahma beings. The Buddha concluded, "At that time, the ascetic who was slain was none other than Kokālika, and the leader of the ascetics was I, the Buddha." The moral of the story: useless speech brings danger.